Are you ready for the 2023 Black Swan event that could shake the very foundations of the financial world? A $97 trillion derivatives time bomb is ticking, and it's just a matter of time before it goes off. But what exactly is this time bomb, and how will it impact the global economy? Stay tuned to find out. The Bank for International Settlements, or BIS, is a powerful international financial institution that is owned by 63 central banks around the world, including the Federal Reserve, the European Central Bank, the Russian Central Bank, and the People's Bank of China. These central banks control 95% of the world's GDP and are referred to as the central bank to the world's central banks. Recently, the BIS released a report that revealed the staggering amount of hidden debt, totaling over $85 trillion, that is going unreported by banks and financial institutions globally. This amount is nearly 4 times the size of the American economy and just 50% less than the entire world's economy. It's important to pay attention to what the BIS says, as it wields a significant amount of influence in the financial world. With their latest report, they are essentially shouting out a warning about the massive amount of hidden debt and its potential consequences. According to this recent report by the BIS, foreign exchange swap positions indicate over $80 trillion of hidden US dollar debt that is not reported on the balance sheets. The BIS, made up of 63 of the world's largest central banks, chose to highlight this shocking number in the summary of their 86-page document. This report sheds light on the existence of a huge vacuum in the world's balance sheet that is 20 times larger than the British economy, and the fact that it is largely unnoticed is a cause for concern. The actual figure of hidden debt, when considering debt denominated in other currencies such as the euro, is nearly $100 trillion. Foreign exchange swaps are financial instruments that are used for hedging or speculating on currency movements. However, these swaps can also be used to hide debt and make it appear as though a financial institution has less debt than it actually does. This in turn can create a shadow debt bubble that is larger than the GDP of the entire world, yet goes unnoticed by many. Foreign exchange swaps, as described in the report by the BIS, are actually agreements between two parties to exchange currencies at predetermined exchange rates. This allows them to swap currencies without having to worry about foreign exchange risk, as they use the current exchange rate for today and a preset exchange rate for when the loans are returned. However, despite being considered by some as risk-free lending, the reality is far from it. The most concerning aspect of these swaps is that they are not recorded on company balance sheets and are missing in standard debt statistics. This means that businesses or banks are not required to disclose this debt to their investors, making it nearly impossible to determine the exact amount of hidden debt a company may have. These missing debts can lead to a shadow debt bubble that can go unnoticed, much like the over $85 trillion of hidden debt identified by the BIS in their recent report. The fact that such a large amount of debt can exist without being properly accounted for highlights the need for increased transparency in the financial sector. Despite the appearance of stability, the liabilities that result from foreign exchange swaps are not without risk. Although the debt is collateralized by the other currency involved in the swap, it can still exist as hidden debt that doesn't affect a company's profitability. The year 2022 was a challenging one for investors, with most experiencing losses. Stocks, bonds, and even gold saw a decline, and the crypto market took a major hit. The amount of debt held with foreign exchange swaps globally has never been higher, at a staggering $85 trillion. Of this $85 trillion debt, almost 80% is due to be paid within less than 1 year. The thing about debt is that it eventually needs to be paid off or refinanced, or you run the risk of default. This is where the problems start to arise, as a global economic slowdown or market crashes can cause a funding squeeze, transforming harmless debt into harmful debt. Previous market crashes, such as the COVID-19 crash of 2020 and the 2008 global financial crisis, have resulted in major economic upheavals. Unfortunately, the situation today is not much different, as the 3 major factors are causing the $100 trillion debt bubble to explode. Firstly, the debt is real and the interest must be paid, leading to a funding squeeze. A funding squeeze or financial squeeze is a scenario when obtaining financing is more difficult due to lenders being apprehensive of lending out additional loans. The current state of global debt is a major concern, with a $100 trillion debt bubble that needs to be refinanced soon. 80% of this debt will mature in the next year and must be refinanced. However, interest rates have risen significantly since the debt was first taken out. This could lead to an increased cost of over $1 trillion per year for every 1% increase in interest rates. Currently, the federal funds rate is 4.5%, which could represent a yearly increased cost of $4.5 trillion. With previous market crashes and financial crises having had a major impact on the global economy, this is a pressing issue that must be addressed. The institutions holding this debt, such as banks, pension funds, hedge funds, and companies, will face higher costs to service the debt as interest rates have increased. To make matters worse, some companies and institutions may not even be able to acquire financing due to the funding squeeze. This will lead to some weaker companies globally facing bankruptcy and defaulting on their debt. This issue is only the first of 3 major problems. The second issue is that the economy is entering a recession, despite what may be claimed. Real incomes have been declining, and people are earning and spending less, affecting the economy. The second problem that is being faced is that we are entering a period of economic downturn, despite any efforts by the Federal Reserve to mitigate it. As a result of declining real incomes, which have been decreasing every month, consumers are spending less money, and this is beginning to impact the overall economy. The negative consequences of this will not only be felt by individuals, but also by other entities such as banks, institutions, pension funds, hedge funds, and companies. So as the economy enters a recession, businesses are going to be facing lower revenues, profits, and weakened financial positions. This already presents a challenge for them to remain afloat, but the added burden of the increased debt service costs make it even more difficult. As people earn less and spend less, corporations will also experience a drop in their earnings, making it harder for them to manage their debt obligations. The third problem is linked to foreign exchange swaps. Typically during a global recession, the value of the US dollar tends to climb in value, and this can greatly impact companies that have taken on debt in foreign currencies. As the value of the US dollar changes, it becomes more expensive for these companies to pay off their debt and maintain solvency, which can lead to more bankruptcies and defaults. This, combined with a rise in debt refinancing costs and the onset of a recession, creates a perfect storm that could lead to a significant increase in financial instability. The value of the US dollar often increases during economic recessions as it's perceived as a safe haven. This means that during a recession, other currencies such as the euro, pound, or yen may decrease in value, making it more expensive to obtain US dollars. Since 80% of the $100 trillion debt is in US dollars, countries outside of the US may struggle to obtain the funds needed to pay it off, leading to further financial difficulties. The global debt bubble is a ticking time bomb that is likely to cause a chain reaction of events that will have severe consequences for businesses, employees, and consumers. The banks that extended these loans will become involved in the fallout, and a second global financial crisis will emerge, which will be even more severe and devastating than the last one. This is because over the past decade, every financial system in the world has been overwhelmed with trillions of dollars in liquidity, making the situation more complex. The result will be businesses closing, employees losing their jobs, consumer spending decreasing, and the recession intensifying. So what does all this mean for the global economy and for us as individuals? Will this debt crisis trigger another global financial crisis? How will it impact employment rates, consumer spending, and the stock market? What can be done to mitigate the effects of this looming debt crisis? These are all important questions that we must consider as we navigate the uncertain economic waters ahead. What are your thoughts on this issue? Let us know in the comments below and be connected with us for more intriguing content like this.